Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 13th, 2026 Commission meeting for the Community Police Review Commission. This meeting is now called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll to establish a quorum?
Thank you, Chair. Members, please unmute your microphones. Commissioner Johnson?
Present.
Commissioner Coleman is absent. Commissioner Corbs?
Present.
Commissioner Buenrostro is absent. Commissioner Griggs?
Present.
Commissioner Lewis?
Present.
Commissioner Janulius is absent. Commissioner Brookins is absent. Commissioner Espinoza Salazar?
Present.
And Chair Sample?
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. So we do have a quorum tonight. I would like to remind members of the public and chambers that if you would like to speak on an agenda item, please turn in a speaker slip to the before the item begins. After the item is called, we will no longer accept speaker slips, and you will have 2 minutes to speak once you are called on. We will now proceed with tonight's agenda. Please rise if you're able for the opening acknowledgement in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu Valley, the Plains Miwok, the Patwin Wintu peoples, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together today in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's history, contributions, and lives. Thank you. Now I will ask Commissioner Johnson if you will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we're going to move to the approval of the consent calendar. Sorry. I meant to ask if I could move the public comment on matters not on the agenda prior, as we have done previously. All right, so if you'll forgive my oversight there, we'd like to move to, is there public comment on matters not on the agenda?
Thank you, Chair. I have no speaker slips for matters not on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move into our consent calendar. Our consent calendar is the approval of our minutes from our March 9th, 2026 commission meeting. Are there any questions? Excuse me, are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this item?
Yes, Chair. We do have one member of the public signed up to speak. Maybe make your way to the lectern now.
I didn't hear I was talking. Now, okay, so this matter does not pertain to what's on the agenda. So my name is Miss Tangi Lewis, and I've been here over a month in a crisis. I went to report a crime that had happened to me and my son. We do not supposed to be in the United States. And for his abduction, I was refused to make a report. This has been happening for over a year. Every city and state I've been to, I've been refused to reports of our crime being reported. And so I'm continuously reaching out. How can this commission help connect me with those that can help? Now, it's a lot more in detail about what has happened to me and my family because we had to flee the United States into another country. And so I'm reaching out in every avenue that I possibly can because my son's life does depend on it. And so I decided to make it to this meeting. I don't know how much time I have, I don't know. And to reach out to see how can this commission help connect me to make what wrong right, because No matter a crime is a crime, it must be reported. And because I appear to be by myself, I have encountered a lot of injustice that which caused me to continue in this life that is not mine. I work very hard not to be in this situation, and my son somewhere else that I do not know. And so how can this commission, again, connect me to and help assist with the matter at hand, being my previous experience and experience now here with the police department and others in position I've connected with their office and haven't heard any response back at all. Do I stand?
Great. Thank you, Ms. Lewis, for that comment.
Okay, so what, do I hear something back now or later?
This is public comment time. I believe that was for matters not on the
Okay,
agenda.
thank
that
you,
we
because it's
took
been
at the
so long.
top.
I've been to many different ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so just so that we'll all know, that was public comment on matters not on the agenda, so now we'll move into our consent calendar, which will be the approval of our commission meetings for the March 9th, 2026 meeting. Does that clean it up for me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sorry for the confusion on the clerk's end.
All right. With that being said, is there a motion and a second for our consent calendar?
Motion.
Okay.
And for the record, we have no public comments on the consent calendar.
So there's no public comments. Any comments by commissioners? Okay. So I have a motion by Commissioner Vice Chair Johnson, and I have a second by Commissioner Lewis. Corpse? All right. I heard both of y'all say second, so tie goes to the runner. That's the A's up the street. All right, with that being said, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. Let's move to our next item, which is under our discussion calendar. We have the Sacramento Police Department staff update. Captain Buchanan.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for the time to address you guys tonight. Just a little history on why we're starting these staff updates. The Chair and I spoke, and we thought it'd be good to provide a little bit more knowledge on some of our units within the department that you guys may not be aware of. So tonight, it's an easy one for me. It's one of my teams, and it's our Inspections and Standards team. And I'll give you a brief overview on what they do and how they help ensure accountability within the Sacramento Police Department. The Inspections and Standards team was created in 2020 to make sure we are meeting the highest standards for our internal audits and inspections. Their core responsibility is accountability of our equipment, for our practices, and for the constitutional rights of the people we serve. On the equipment side, the team conducts quarterly inspections of patrol, investigations, and specialty units. These inspections are chosen at random and focus on making sure every piece of issued equipment is present, functional, and ready for use. When they identify an issue, it gets corrected quickly, and if they see a pattern, they work with the department to develop long-term solutions. One of the primary areas they focus on is the accountability and proper functioning of our less than lethal systems. The Inspection Standard teams also ensures accountability through our constitutionality of arrest audits. Each quarter, about 5% of all of our arrests are selected by a computer randomizer and reviewed in detail. Some of the key points auditors look at are whether there was reasonable suspicion, probable cause was established, or whether evidence was handled correctly. In the third quarter of 2025, SPD made approximately 2,500 arrests. The team reviewed 126 of them. Of those, 125 were found to be fully compliant, and one was referred to the watch commander for additional review. These results and every quarter's results dating back to 2021 are publicly posted on our transparency page. If you refer to your handout that you have up there, you can see what we post on our transparency page with the detailed data. This process gives the community a clear window into how we monitor constitutional policing within the department. It should be noted that if an auditor identifies potential corrective actions, then the review is forwarded to the officers division, who will decide if the corrective action should be referred to the internal affairs divisions or not. The Inspections Standard team also prepares the annual military equipment use report, which you guys are very familiar with. which accounts for quantities, costs, uses, and the demographics of the individuals the equipment was used on. A recent audit by the LA Controller found SP's report to be fully compliant with state law and model for other agencies. And our auditor conducted an audit, our city auditor conducted an audit on it and said we're above standard in almost all the areas that they reviewed. In short, the Inspection Standards team is one of our most important accountability mechanisms. Their work helps ensure equipment is managed responsibly, our arrests meet constitutional standards, and our operations remain transparent to the community. To close it out, they're extremely professional group of employees who do amazing work that I'm extremely proud of. So I'll take any questions if you guys have them on that team. I thought it would be nice to give you guys more insight to some of our units.
Okay, Commission, are there, well, first, Clerk, do I have any members of the public who want to speak on this item?
Thank you, Chair. I have no speaker slips on item number 2.
Okay, are there any commissioners who have questions or comments for Captain Buchanan? Oh, there we go. Commissioner Corpse.
Thank you for that presentation. So we haven't had OPSA here for a while. And so are these cases that you were referring to from the standards team, the inspection and standards team, does OPSA review those as well?
No, Commissioner, it's all internal to make sure we're not violating people's civil rights when we're making arrests. So it's the constitutionality of the arrests that are being made. So it's not every call, it's just another mechanism for oversight internally, which makes this team special in what they do on that perspective.
Okay, so this is in addition to what OPSA is doing along with the police department?
Correct. It's in addition to our supervisor reviewing a minimum of 2 body cameras per period, per every 6 months, then these, and plus whatever other incidents that may mandate a review.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next I have Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you for the report. My question is, so they're reviewing 5% of arrests. Is that then extrapolated into trends for the greater, because that's 5%, so the greater majority, is that then expected that there's a trending situation, or is this 5% deemed to be reflective of overall performance, if that makes sense?
I think I'm following. So the 5% is just randomly selected
Yes.
statistical sampling. I'm not gonna say I'm an auditor to understand what that means, but it will show us if there's trends that we need to or patterns that we need to be aware of. It has caught some issues in the past, so it has been a productive study or a productive auditing process. So it's working out for us. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
You are. I just wanted to know if there was, and I'm sure the auditors would do this, we're following any trends or patterns that may have been reflected in this 5%, which would then cause them to say, okay, hold on, maybe we need to look at a greater percentage.
Correct. If we found a large number that where there would be problems, certainly in a special area or a certain arrest type, then we'd go back and we'd study that to see what it was and do more review.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair Johnson.
Captain Buchanan, thank you very much for that report. My question is in regards to the training. Is there any adjustments have been done in the training since 25?
Regarding just the auditing process?
Yes.
Yeah, so all the auditors are selected and they receive training before they can be able to conduct audits. They actually follow a checklist to make sure it's consistent with across the board. They review all the paperwork, they review the body-worn camera, and they review everything that has to deal with the call. So yes, they are trained. We don't have a set retraining period for them to do because they do cycle out because we have to use people outside the unit because to review 125 calls every quarter is a lift for some people because it's not their full-time job.
Thank you.
Okay, other members of the commission? Well, it's not really a question, it's more of a comment, Captain Buchanan. I want to say thank you so much for this report and this information. It is, again, our hope and our desire to continue to kind of have this type of information to be able to help inform the work that we're doing. So great job with this, really appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. All right, if there's no other comments from members of the commission, we'll move to our next discussion item. So our next discussion item is an audit of the Sacramento Police Department Evidence and Property Division. And so we will have a report from our city auditor. Welcome.
All right. Good evening, Community Police Review Commissioners. My name is Kevin Christensen. I'm the Assistant City Auditor with the City Auditor's Office. So with me tonight are First Rari, the City Auditor, and Chevelle Jackson, a Senior Fiscal Policy Analyst in the office that worked on the project. So we are here to present our audit of the Sacramento Police Department's Evidence and Property section. So we'll begin with a little background. The evidence and property section plays a critical role in the criminal justice process by maintaining the integrity of evidence from the moment it's collected through its final disposition. This function directly supports successful prosecutions, reduces legal and operational risk, and helps maintain public trust. So the section operates under the Police Department's General Order 525.01, which requires all evidence be securely stored, properly documented, and consistently tracked to preserve a chain of custody. As discussed below, or as discussed later in this presentation, the police department has also developed 2 draft procedure documents provided to staff that guide the day-to-day operations of the warehouse. So operationally, the work centers on 4 core functions: intake, storage, distribution, and disposition. So staff verify and accept evidence from patrol officers. They maintain the secure inventory controls, provide evidence for investigations and court proceedings, and ensure appropriate and final outcomes such as return, destruction, or transfer. So we'll go to the scope of the audit. The objective of the project was to determine whether the evidence and property section operates in compliance with applicable laws, industry best standards, and maintaining the integrity and accountability of the evidence handling process. For scope, we focused our review on operations of the warehouse between 2020 and 2024. So in order to do the project, we focused on 3 main areas, or a couple different areas. We reviewed national standards, analyzed SPD's draft policies, and conducted walkthroughs of evidence facilities to assess the operational and structural practices. We reviewed best practices from the California Commission on Police Officer Standards and Training, or POST, and the International Association of Property and Evidence. So given the volume of property related to homelessness, we also engaged shelter operators that are operating homeless shelters in the city, SPD command staff, and city officials to identify best practices for handling and returning property. So we performed detailed testing of high-risk items such as firearms, narcotics, cash, and jewelry using a statistically valid sample and verified their presence in the warehouse. In addition, we assessed warehouse access controls, including security badging and security cameras. So for our first finding, we concluded that SPD's evidence location and retrieval processes are generally operating effectively with error rates within acceptable industry ranges. So we found that SPD has strong controls in place for evidence handling. Officers are required to book items by the end of their shift, properly package and document them, and ensure that they're secured in designated storage locations. Evidence and property staff then review the submissions and confirm the accuracy of and compliance. So we found that maintaining a chain of custody is essential control for SPD. Our testing of high-risk items that included narcotics, firearms, securities, and jewelry showed that nearly all items were properly accounted for. Drugs were tracked at 100%, firearms at 99.6%. One item that we could not find was a fingerprint, and all remaining items in the high-risk designations were ultimately located or supported by chain of custody documentation. So as part of this first finding, in our first sub-finding, we identified an opportunity for SPD to strengthen ammunition storage practices that better align with best practices. So while policies exist, we observed ammunition for destruction and department use being stored on pallets on the warehouse floor rather than in dedicated fire-related or fire-rated storage. This is partly due to the dual role of the facility. So the evidence and property warehouse serves as both the evidence storage and also as the department's armory, resulting in large volumes of ammunition stored basically in the secured warehouse. So best practices we found recommend that ammunition be stored separately in fireproof lockers. Although access to the areas are restricted, storing ammunition in open areas increases the risk of loss, misuse, and various safety hazards. So for this, we recommended that SPD move the ammunition into fire-rated lockers and update its policies to clearly require storage consistent with the best practices. So our second sub-finding had to do with firearms stored in cages on the floor of the facility. So basically, we found that firearms pending destruction were stored in open racks in the secured warehouse. So we found this in the initial walkthroughs of the audit. Over the course of the audit, SPD had added additional security protocols by adding locking mechanisms to the cages and by ensuring that those cages are locked to basically set structures. So while we found these improvements took place, the procedures manual did not reflect the new requirements, so we recommended that they update the manual and train staff on these new security requirements. So for our fourth sub-finding, we identified an opportunity to strengthen access controls over the warehouse's video surveillance system. So while SPD has strong overall security measures in place, we observed that the video surveillance workstation is located on the open warehouse floor, making it accessible for evidence and property staff and increasing the risk of unauthorized access or tampering. So best practices we found recommend that surveillance systems be secured and accessible only to authorized management personnel, and as they serve as a critical control for monitoring activity and preserving a reliable record. Although additional cameras are planned to enhance monitoring, the current placement still presents risks to integrity and compliance. So we recommended that SPD take steps to better secure the surveillance workstation and strengthen controls to protect the critical records. So for the second finding, we identified a governance gap related to SPD's evidence and property policies and procedures. So while, as I said earlier, while SPD has developed a comprehensive procedural manual, including both the evidence and property manual and a separate firearms handbook, these documents remain in draft form and have not been formally adopted. These manuals provide critical guidance on evidence handling, security, documentation, and legal compliance, and are intended to support consistent and accountable operations. So best practices in internal control standards emphasize that policies should be formally approved, communicated, and implemented in order to be effective. Without finalized procedures, management's ability to enforce standards, ensure consistency, and maintain accountability is limited. So we recommended that SPD prioritize the finalizing of these documents and provide staff training. So we had one sub-finding for this finding where we identified an opportunity to strengthen how SPD handles jewelry and other high-value items. So while current procedures require items over $100 to be stored in a secure safe, they do not provide clear criteria for determining the value or consistent guidance for booking and documentation of these higher value items. So in practice, staff are separating the higher value items based on the property reports, but we observed incidents where items were not initially identified as high value and required relocation after the fact. Now, to put this into context, we reviewed about 300 items and 4 required placement in the safe. So we're not talking about a big issue here. So what we found is this is partly due to the limited appraisal experience and inconsistent completion of value fields in the tracking system. So best practices recommend itemizing valuables and applying reasonable market values. What the what SPD told us is that neither the police officers or the property clerks are trained in appraising jewelry and high-value items. So a lot of this, if the value isn't given to them, they kind of ballpark it, right? So what we recommended is updating the procedures to provide clearer guidance so potentially valuable items are moved into the safe. So our third finding has to do with opportunities to reduce time and cost by relocating homeless enforcement property. So currently, SPD spends a significant amount of time and resources collecting, storing, and disposing of property belonging to people experiencing homelessness to the tune of about 8,000 staff hours annually, or roughly $588,000 in total costs between property clerks and members of the SPD impact team. So this work also strains warehouse capacity. It pulls officers from core duties and creates barriers for individuals attempting to retrieve their belongings. Other agencies that we spoke to throughout the state have addressed these challenges by using third-party providers to collect, store, and return property off-site, which they found improves efficiency and increases retrieval rates. So for this, we recommended that SPD explore a similar approach and in coordination with the Department of Community Response, implement monitoring to ensure that it delivers time savings and operational benefits. So our fourth finding has to do with evidence disposition and accumulation within the warehouse. So we identified that evidence disposition practices have not kept pace with incoming inventory, leading to a growing accumulation of property. So between 2022 and 2024, SPD booked over 143,000 items and disposed of about 122,000 items, resulting in a net increase of more than 20,000 items in storage over that 3-year process. So while processing has improved, intake generally outpaced removals, contributing to overcrowding and increased risks related to storage capacity, safety, and the chain of custody. Right. So up there on the slide, you can see the incoming and outgoing rates for 22, 23, and 24, and the item in the red circle is the accumulated items in the warehouse. So. These challenges are partly driven by legal and court requirements that extend how long evidence must be retained in the warehouse, right? So they don't move stuff out as they want to. A lot of times it requires time for legal disposition. It requires time for people to leave incarceration and a host of different issues. So while best practices emphasize the importance of timely and routine disposition and dedicated staff resources to manage inventory effectively. So we identified opportunities to improve disposal timelines, prioritize items already authorized for release, and establish performance goals. So the second sub-finding here has to identifies opportunities to improve how quickly SPD disposes of property after it's been authorized for release. So we found of all the items that come into the property and evidence room, 75% of the items require external authorization for disposition from prosecutors, such as prosecutors at the district attorney's office. So this limits control over when the items can be disposed. However, once they are approved, SPD has much greater influence over how quickly the items are cleared, right? So as you'll see from the table, we broke it down into different time categories for the amount of time items remained in the property and evidence room after authorization was provided. So we found that more consistent monitoring of authorized items, especially those pending over 60 days, would help reduce delays and improve throughput, right? So you see that red circle is around the items that are in the property, that are in the warehouse, 61 to 90 days, and then 91 to 180 days after authorization has been given for removal. So we found that a more consistent monitoring of these items would help reduce delays. Additionally, current procedures do not include clear performance goals for timely disposal. So the procedures basically don't provide kind of a goal for property and evidence clerks to remove this stuff once authorization has been provided. So we recommended that the SPD establish time-bound disposal targets and prioritize older authorized items to improve efficiencies. So our fifth finding We concluded that SPD's Evidence and Property Division has implemented strong security controls to safeguard evidence, particularly in high-risk areas such as firearms, narcotics, and currency storage. So our testing found no instances of unauthorized access into the facility, indicated the current controls are functioning effectively. However, the policies do not consistently require routine, periodic reviews of access permissions and access lists. So basically, without regular audits, we found that there's a risk that access permissions may not stay aligned with current roles in the future. So we recommended that formalizing periodic access reviews to ensure permissions remain current, appropriate, and consistently enforced. And finally, for our sixth finding, we identified that SPD's Property and Evidence section demonstrates strong performance in booking accuracy and error correction, exceeding best practice benchmarks. So across more than 143 items reviewed, the booking error rate was less than 1%, indicating a high level of accuracy. When errors did occur, they were typically identified quickly and corrected within a few days through a structured process. These processes align with best practices, and overall, this reflects a well-functioning system. So that concludes our presentation, and we're available for questions if you've got any.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Christensen. Are there members of the public who have any comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair. I have no speaker slips for item number 3.
Okay, commission members, Commissioner Corpse.
That was a lot of information, so thank you for that. Holy cow, right? That was a lot. So regarding the collection of items for the homeless, how long, so they collect items for whatever reason, and then when can they come back and get their items?
So typically, the items are collected at the point of incarceration and put into the facility. Now, they can come get the items immediately once they are released from the incarcerated state. I think what we found, what we were told through various interviews, is that the location of the property and evidence warehouse is not close to the jail, which makes it somewhat difficult for individuals who are homeless to get over there and get it. There are issues with trauma where an individual who has significant trauma may not want to engage with the police immediately after being incarcerated. So I think the simple answer to your question is immediately upon their release, they can go get it.
But then, according to your chart, it showed that there was stuff there that was years later. You know, and I know we can't specifically say, was this homeless or was this a different type of crime? But so at some point, the evidence or the accumulation of items is going to be destroyed?
That's right. So I think the chart you're referring to.
It was the one that you had with the red circle on
right,
it.
is general evidence. So that's looking at all evidence of all different kinds.
Right. I was going to say, I know you couldn't specify.
Right. So I think the homeless evidence is documented under what the police department categorizes as safekeeping. And if there is a timeline established by, if I'm not mistaken, it's the California Civil Code that requires the property be held for a certain period of time. If the individual does not come back, then the item is either it's destroyed, it's sold, or it's thrown away.
Because I feel like I hear a lot about that, you know, property is taken and that they can never get it back. The point is, people can get it back if they want it, once they are let out of jail.
They can.
Okay, just confirming that, because it sounds, I hear a lot where property is taken and then they just can't seem to get it back. So they can get it back, as long as it wasn't illegal drugs, guns, or whatever it might be.
Right. I think what we heard from both, well, from what we heard from shelter operators, what we heard from people that, social scientists that study homelessness, from members of the impact team, from representatives of the evidence and property section, is that there are hurdles to individuals getting there to get the property back. Right now, that of course is not necessarily the police department's responsibility. I think based on some of our benchmarking, what we found is that other cities have tried to take a more proactive and, as they describe it, a more humane approach to trying to put these individuals in a position to be able to retrieve their property. For example, the city of Anaheim and the county of Santa Clara are now, as discussed in the report, are contracting out with a service provider that will meet the impact team on the point of incarceration. They will take the property, store it in a warehouse, and give the individual a card. When the individual is released from incarceration, they contact the warehouse and they come back and deliver the items back to that person when they are released. Now, the impact team and DCR have been consulting and are moving towards exploring a contract of that nature. However, nothing is finalized yet.
Well, it looks like that might save money, so that probably would be a good thing. All right, I just wanted to make sure that people can get their stuff back if they want it. I understand that there's hurdles to getting it, but they can get it back if they want it. It's not like it's stored and then destroyed and they don't have the opportunity to get it back. All right, well, it looks like Sac PD's doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair Johnson.
Thank you, sir, very much for that report. My question, piggyback on Commissioner Corpse, is on, since it's centralized where the unhoused are having their things or whatever valuables they may have, maybe they have loose jewelry or whatever they may have, that's taken into now possession of the police department and now taken out to a warehouse location. Have you had any complaints? I know we're always complaining, somebody's always complaining, but you have a lot of complaints of people saying, well, it just was hard for me to go get my stuff. It was hard for me to get there, to get to it, you know, and eventually they just destroyed it, or eventually I just couldn't get it back. Have you received any volume of phone calls saying that I'm coming and get it, and then, you know, within a week or two of tracking them and seeing they didn't come and pick it up, so when are they going to come and pick it up? You know, are we just holding on to it?
Well, I think that's a concern, is that in many cases that it is being held on to until the police department is legally required to hold on to it, right? So I think one of the things that we heard from both DCR outreach workers, from shelter operators, and from the police themselves is that what you have is when an individual is incarcerated, they separate out personal belongings, the valuable stuff versus the stuff that is not that valuable. So in most cases, the stuff that they do find most valuable, it does go into safekeeping. Now, this can include identification, birth certificates, medicine, family heirlooms, and in instances where they don't go back and get it, that stuff is destroyed. Now, we don't have statistics on how many times or the rate that does occur. However, it is significant enough that basically everybody that we talked to regarding this issue said it's a problem.
Okay. My other question was in regards to the audit you have done on some of the stations. Are some of the stations trying to upgrade their storage areas, their containing areas, to where it's not so much open and it's kind of put away where they could just not just pass by a door on its way out and be able access to it, whether they have to go into that area to pick it out, to really, to go into the area to pick out evidence or whatever they need to get to it. Because some stations, I guess, are not large enough. Some stations are not able to have those type of places where they can have it all racked up and placed in the area. And it might be in certain areas of the station located. So some of our stations kind of trying to upgrade themselves to do it.
I think this might be a question better suited for the department.
Good evening, Deputy Chief Bales. Thank you, Commissioner. First of all, I want to say thank you to the City Auditor's Office. They've been fantastic to work with. Also, I just wanted to introduce Captain Hansen and Liz Foggy. Captain Hansen's the captain over investigations, and the property warehouse is run by Liz, which is out of the investigations division. Thank you for your question, sir. So each of our substations, our patrol substations, have a temporary holding area for evidence. So a patrol officer, if they are booking evidence, they don't have to go all the way down to the property warehouse to do that, which is over off of Richards Boulevard. They always have the opportunity to do that, but if they're in North Sacramento or South Sacramento, they can do that at one of our substations. Those are temporary holding locations for evidence. They're not permanent. So what happens is several times a week, after an officer writes in and books in the evidence, the chain of custody is established through that report and through that evidence being booked in. It's locked into a locker, which is also in a secure building, which is behind a secure gate of the police department. So there's several layers of security there. Once that piece of evidence is there, it's entered also into our records management system, which tracks it separately than a written report. It's also an electronic digital chain of custody. Our property warehouse staff then responds to each of the substations and collects the couple days worth of evidence, putting it into their chain of custody, cataloging it, transporting it to the warehouse, and then putting it into the warehouse with a catalog of where it's located in there. Currently, there is no infrastructure resources available to either upsize that or increase physical infrastructure security at those locations, but they are very adequate at this time.
So is this a pretty good process at the time to maybe that you would like to continue to keep going this route this way rather than trying to upgrade stations, substations to house for certain periods of time evidence they have?
I would love any resource that you guys can encourage. Absolutely. Yeah, we're always looking to improve infrastructure. Some of our substations are very old, inside the city. So we do the best we can with what we've got. Just to that very topic of the ammunition. So ammunition, we concur. We would love to store it in a fireproof, lockered, separate area. It is currently stored behind several layers of security. No officer is authorized back there, only property warehouse, and it's through two different sets of key card access controls. However, the auditor is absolutely right that fire-rated storage is the industry best standard. We would love to do that, but we don't have the resources available to try and do the infrastructure, improvement to do that. Not only that, but just increasing capacity altogether. As you can see, we're to the gills, so to speak, and we are basically restrained by how many people we have that can work for us and process, and the area in which we have to store it. And as you heard, there's a lot of legal constraints and mandates that we have to meet in order to maintain not only the chain of custody for evidence, but then all of the property that we take in that's just for safekeeping to get that back to people.
But I was asking that for the reason that because we are looking at the MUE type of thing and knowing that each station possibly has a certain MUE equipment in their station. So I know that access to that is needed and you can't really have too much going on in certain areas. Like you said, certain areas you can go into, certain areas you cannot go into. And I know our officers are trusted and to do their job and to know how to come in and out. And that's why I was kind of looking at where I said, well, why would we need additional cameras when we're you really, we're the police department,
Well, we love to not only hold people accountable, but hold ourselves accountable and then audit that accountability process. So we are always, like the briefing that Captain Buchanan gave tonight with our inspection standards team, we are always looking for opportunities to be transparent and make sure that we are catching any trends early and often if there is an error or if there's any malfeasance altogether.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. Appreciate it.
Okay, next I have Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you again for your explanation and for the audit as well with your team. My one question is, and I guess I just wanted to make sure I understand, there's a difference between when an unhoused person is taken into custody, there's a difference between evidence related to whatever the reason they're being arrested and their property that they obviously don't like have a home or whatever to leave at. Is that what the issue is with the storage? It's their actual property, not stuff that are needed for legal reasons or whatever, just their actual property?
Right, I think I understand your question. So when let's say the impact team goes out to do an enforcement action, typically an individual who is experiencing homelessness in one of these actions has a lot of belongings. Now, the police department is not able to take all of that. Right, so typically what happens is that the representatives of the impact team as well as the DCR outreach workers will help the homeless individual, the person experiencing homelessness, separate the stuff that is important to them that they want to take. Now that stuff is taken and booked into the property and evidence warehouse.
Gotcha.
And so the rest of it is not really germane to what we're discussing here.
So it's not necessarily, I guess when we use the word evidence, I'm thinking, evidence of a crime or whatever, evidence. This is simply, we're holding their property, and for whatever reason, they've been unable to, the length of time, as Commissioner Cordes is pointing out, there's various reasons why they've not been able to go back right away and get it, but it's not something that's germane to a case against them, per se.
No.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just a few questions that I have, Mr. Christensen. First of all, when I read through the report as well as through your presentation, and I see things like all data shows 99.6%, consistency supported, it lets me know that this is a fairly high-level, well-ran machine in terms of the work that our team is doing at SPD. The one that really stood out to me that I definitely think from our seat, our community would be most concerned about is the high book and accuracy in the terms of errors are rare. And I think that is something that cannot be an understatement. And when there are errors, your report says it's corrected within 2 to 7 days. So I think for me, those are some things, a few other things in there too, that just stood out to me as what you would want to see. That's the kind of information that you think that you would want to see from SPD. So good job on that to the team over there. Few questions is, when you make the recommendations, what are the process for the recommendations that you make? So you tell the team, you give this information, what's next?
So we follow generally accepted government auditing standards, which lay out a recommendation and a recommendation follow-up process. So what happens is when we make recommendations, the client, or in this case, the police department, are invited to respond to each one of the recommendations. Now, what you'll see in the back of the report is what's called a management response. This begins on page 40. Now, what it basically states the recommendation, and the department responds whether they agree, disagree, partially agree, or are neutral. In the response, they include in most cases, a timeline for the remediative action to take place. Once that happens, we enter this information into what we have is a recommendation follow-up portal for for our recommendation follow-up process. So twice a year, we reach out to the department on recommendations that are still open and request an update on the status of the implementation. We come back and provide a report on that to the Budget and Audit Committee and then the City Council twice a year.
Great, thank you. And then I guess my final question is how can this commission, how can this body add value to these recommendations or the work that you've done?
I think we have tried to note that in relation to our objectives, kind of what we're finding. So in this case, I think we found that the police department is, as you pointed out, doing a fairly good job. I think that, should you be so inclined as this goes through the Budget and Audit Committee or to the City and Council, if a representative wanted to come and show your support to the police department or support that these recommendations be implemented, I think that would be helpful.
Great, thank you for that. Are there other commissioners that have any comments? Okay, very thorough report, appreciate it. Thank you very much, and commissioners, this is a receive and file. So thank you so much for that, Mr. Christensen. All right. Our next item on the agenda, if I can get my notes here again. Our next item is the establishment of ad hoc committees for the proposed 2026 work plan. And so this item is really, Commission, for us to discuss and just really for you to offer your interest in working on one of the ad hoc committees. I will make the appointment of those committees, but this gives us an opportunity to discuss it. So with that being said, Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to discuss this item?
Thank you, Chair. I have no speaker slips for item 4.
Okay. So just to remind all of us, our work plan really comes down to what I call 3 major areas. One is the outreach and events ad hoc committee. The second is the policy and procedures ad hoc committee. I feel like our standing one is always the military equipment use committee and the planning, and I will say that one needs to probably start their work fairly soon. And then the final one that we added this year to our work plan, pending its approval, is an annual report work group. So it's a group of us to work on the annual report so that we know that all voices are captured in our annual report. So with that being said, I'll stop there and see if there are comments, questions, concerns, or maybe you're just jumping to say, hey, I want to be a part of that ad hoc, and just share your interests with me. Okay, I have Commissioner Lewis first.
Thank you, Chair. I, for one, am glad that we kind of condensed down into 2 committees versus I think we had like 5 or 4, whatever. And I think that the addition to our work plan is a good idea because what I understood in the past was that the chair and the vice chair just kind of huddled together and they just had to make it happen. But I think a committee underneath that happening will be good. And I think that there's enough of us where if we have the 2 committees that those things, particularly the MEU, because we need to get going on that, are good. So absolutely, I agree with our work plan and I agree with the 2 ad hocs.
Commissioner Corpse?
I think I just felt an earthquake. Anybody else feel that? Okay, just making sure.
I just thought it was a little rumble. I was like, oh.
I have too, but
Like a 6-point.
man, okay. So let me just confirm. We're going to have the outreach and events, the policy and procedures, and the MEU.
And I would say that I feel like the MEU can be a part of the outreach and events.
Okay, so I just wanted to,
Yes.
because you kind of said them separately, but
Yeah,
that's going to be
sorry.
part of that one. Okay, so we technically, like Commissioner Lewis said, there's 2.
2, with that final group being a work group around the annual report, which would include the chair, vice chair, and
Okay.
probably another
Okay.
member.
Okay. All right, just making sure. So then half will be on the first one, and so we have to make sure we don't have a quorum.
Correct. So, city attorney, how many can we have on each ad hoc?
Jacob Redberg, Office
Oh,
of the
sorry,
City
city
Clerk.
clerk. Jacob.
It's going to be a maximum of 5. Six is
maximum of
quorum,
5.
so
All right.
maximum of 5.
So I'm sorry, Commissioner Corpse, are you?
Nope, I'm done.
So I guess my question is just to entertain any interest from fellow commissioners of which ones you're like, hey, whatever you do, appoint me to that one. If not, then you'll just be left to the chair's appointment. Hey, it's like either speak up or I'm just gonna.
Well, I feel bad that, you don't have time to be doing all this. So since my previous ad hoc committee, we were trying desperately to get some type of onboarding and training taking place, I will continue to be on that committee.
So that would be under our policy and procedure?
Yes. And if anybody would like to join me, I'm taking requests. I don't see anybody jumping.
We have
How
to
about if
follow
I
procedure.
nominate, how about if I nominate Commissioner Giannoulias, who's not here?
You won't take nominations, but I'll take the interest.
Okay.
Did I say that
I
correctly?
will
No
ask her,
nominations, but I'll
I
take
will
it.
ask her, and I'm sure she will do it, if anybody else wants to join me.
I'll join.
Oh, thank you. So I have 3 people.
I would be interested in the Outreach and Events Ad Hoc Committee.
And if I'm correct, you also helped last year lead the charge on MEU, which is a future item. Okay.
And
Yes.
where I'm at, I never know what to do there. Last year, Commissioner Lewis, we were told from the beginning, obviously we can't have too many people because of quorum. But then it was like at the last minute, we were told that we could attend the meeting if we wanted to. So I don't know.
That was a little
why that,
confusing.
and I just had, because I knew I couldn't go
Yeah,
originally,
because
so
we
I had
ended up
other
with, I think,
plans.
4 of us there.
But there was an email that came out from Chair Kim at that time. It was like the day before, and she said, okay, if anybody wants to attend the MEU meeting, you can. And I was a little bit confused because I know we couldn't be part of the planning.
Yeah, I'm
So
not
is
sure
that the
how
way
that
it's going to be if
came
we
together.
don't, if we're not part of the outreach ad hoc, will we still be able to attend the meeting? City Attorney.
I don't know what meeting you're
The
talking.
MEU.
The MEU
forum.
community meeting.
You cannot, unless it's a public meeting.
No,
It is public. It's a public
As
meeting.
long as it's public, it's agendized, you guys can be.
Oh, then anybody can go.
Because you're still a citizen.
Right, right.
That's what I was thinking, it's like we're
We
still.
were kind of told from the beginning we couldn't, and then,
Yeah.
like I said, the day before, we were
It
told
has to
we
be an
could.
official public.
No, it
meeting.
is.
It is.
It's the
Okay.
MEU
It's
public
the
meeting.
military equipment use policy forum that we
Okay.
have
Okay.
to have every year.
But
So
it-
I was going to say, I think this topic is best discussed under item 6, which is our MEU outreach planning. So if we could just hold that, because I think what you're probably going to share with us is that it needs to be a Brown Act compliant
Yes.
meeting, not just, so
Yes.
we'll wait till we get to that spot. Yes, sir. But please hold on to that. Okay, are there any other interests before? Commissioner Salazar?
Yes, I'd be interested in the Outreach and Events Ad Hoc Committee.
Okay, the outreach. Great, thank you. Okay, so if, a few questions, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Johnson.
You can just put me in on both of those committees.
Okay.
We can handle it.
And just curious, is there anyone just itching to join the vice chair and myself in writing the annual report and work plan? I mean.
Oh, I'll join on that.
Great. Okay. This is just maybe a question for the clerk or the attorney. The time, will either one of you know the timeline for the approval of our work plan? And can the ad hocs initiate their work before the work plan has been approved? I know that's a very complicated or complex question I've asked.
As chair, per the guidelines of the administrative guidelines of the city clerk, you can create an ad hoc during the meeting and appoint folks for a limited purpose. Which you can do now, if that purpose is not approved by the P&PE committee, they don't want you doing that work, and to go back to the drawing board on that, then that would likely need to be dissolved immediately. However, not to speak for them, if this is under the city code as the scope of your work, I don't see why that would occur.
Okay, so with that being said, the chair then will appoint to the Outreach and Events Ad hoc Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Salazar, Commissioner Johnson, or Vice Chair Johnson.
And that is the 2026 outreach and events?
Yeah, 2026, thank you. Let me make sure I say, the 2026 Outreach and Events, which will include the MEU planning. And then the policy and procedures ad hoc will be Commissioner Corbs, Commissioner Giannoulias. I only said that like tentatively because she's not here. Commissioner Griggs and Vice Chair Johnson. And then that's the 2026 policy and procedure ad hoc. And then the 2026 annual report will be Chair Sample, Vice Chair Johnson, and Commissioner Lewis. Okay. All right, so such is the order. I don't know if that's what you say at the end of that, but we're going to go with it. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, our next item.
There's one part to it, I think.
Yes.
I don't know if you wanted to have your ad hoc committees duration for less than a year, because I think that was the second part of your item.
So
It can be, from when you establish them, they normally expire a year out, but I think you indicated a
yes,
desire
thank you.
for
So
one.
these ad hocs, thank you, City Attorney. These ad hocs would be through December 31st, 2026. So they will end at the end of this term, and so the next chair will appoint. Did I get that? Yes. So the period of time will be April through December 31st, 2026.
That being said, per the city clerk's administrative policy, there still will need to be a staff report for a dissolution of each of those ad hoc committees that has a summary of the work that was accomplished by the ad hoc. Yes, these ones at the end of the year, and then the old ones from last year are pending, but that will be brought before you on the consent calendar at the next meeting.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much, City Clerk. All right. Thank you for that cleanup item there so that we can move forward. Our next item is commission outreach to council members and may.
I'm sorry, Chair. So this item was agenda. My apologies. This item was agendized to take a motion. However, I'll defer to the city attorney. The administrative policy doesn't require the chair to have to call for a motion to create the ad hoc committees and appoint members to them. Do we need to take this as a motion, or can that be dropped at the will of the chair?
It can be withdrawn.
Okay, so we'll withdraw that part, and we'll just say that those are the new ad hocs. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate y'all keeping this legal and out of trouble. We're sitting here with the police. Okay, next we're going to move to item 5, commission outreach to council members and mayor. This is to discuss strategies for commissioners to reach out to city council members and the mayor concerning the work of this commission. Are there any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair. I have no speaker slips for item 5, commission outreach to council members and mayor.
Okay, so I'd like to turn this item over to Vice Chair Johnson, who is going to lead this discussion. Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay, I suggested that that we all, as commissioners, find a time on our councilman's calendar to just sit with him and maybe update him on where we're at as commissioners, and also to receive feedback from him, receive feedback from them in regards to what they feel that as commissioners that what we ought to be looking for or to be looking at in regards to presently what they have in hand, which is reports to them, or whether it be something that's coming down the pike. I had a chance to speak with my councilman through an appointment, and the appointment was set up as Police Commission Johnson to speak with councilman on matters of Police Commission. And so we were able to go into discussions in regards to update him where we're at and what we're doing as far as up till now on the commission, and then to hear his feedback on us being a body that's a vehicle that they are very well loved, that we're doing what we're doing, but also in the future to let us know that possibly there will be more for us to be responsible for on recommendations from them in the future, in the near future. So that's why I want us to maybe kind of tag in with your council person, find out exactly what their feelings are as far as their city council persons, and to find out exactly what do they see us as individuals representing their district to be more concerned about rather than just what's on our present agenda.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We do have a speaker, Commissioner Corpse.
Thank you for that. I am all in support of doing this, and I think I mentioned at the last meeting that it's so important to be, a council member or the mayor elected you to be on this position, on this commission. So it's your responsibility, our responsibility to reach out to them, share what's happening, gather feedback, whatever it might be. And I think at the last meeting when I was here, I shared that my council member and another council member, so Phil Pluckybaum and Eric Guerra, were holding a joint community meeting, and I asked to attend, not asked, I was attending, but then I sent Commissioner Pluckybaum a note and just said, I'm gonna be there, would you mind just introducing me at the event if anybody had questions? I think there was probably 100 people there, maybe over. The police department was there. There was other city entities there that had tables and little tchotchkes and stuff they were handing out. And so he introduced me at the beginning of the meeting, just saying that I was his representative on the police commission, and I cannot believe the number of people that came up and had questions. So it was so nice that I'm glad that I did that, and you'd be amazed at the number of people just in the community that had questions about what do you do and how do you engage with the police department and what exactly does that look like. And so I really appreciate you saying that, Commissioner Johnson. And so if you go to each council member many a times they have a monthly newsletter, and they're sharing all their events that they're gonna be doing that month. And you can just ask if you, I mean, obviously, time is of the essence, probably can't go to a lot of the events, because we're all busy, but if there's something that you can attend, because they would love to have you there and introduce you and say who you are. So I thought that was great. I had no idea so many people were going to come up to me and have questions. I was like, wow. It was great.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis.
I think another thing that we can address with our council person is our need for staffing for this body, because that is something that's decided by city council. So if we, in our meetings with them, can impress upon them the need for us to have city staff reiterate it a couple times maybe, then perhaps it can be something that will eventually be able to get the full committee's, council's attention so that we can move forward in that. But I agree with you. I think getting on their calendar is, you know, I'm lucky that I live next door to my council person, so it's like waving over the fence, hey, but, you know, get on their calendar and, you know, sit and have that conversation with them, absolutely.
Okay. And I think that, you know, for me, when the vice chair brought this up, this really sounds like a very important role for all of us as representatives to be able to build that relationship. And I think this also gets to a spot that this commission has been asking for some time, is how do we have a meaningful connection with our city council, with the mayor? And so I think this is a great way for us to do some one-to-one outreach to those who appointed us. And so hopefully we're able to hear their priorities. We're able to share with them our priorities as we kind of work together. So thank you so much, Commissioner Vice Chair Johnson, for bringing this forward. We would like to just say that from Vice Chair and Chair, we would like for you to prioritize this. And I think, what did we say? Within the next 2 months, we would like everyone to have met with their appointing individuals. So definitely encourage you to do that work. We won't have a formal agenda item on your report backs, but feel free during commissioner comments or other times to share that information in terms of your report backs. Are there any other discussion or questions about this item? Okay, thank you. Moving to our next item, 6, is our proposed military equipment use, MEU outreach planning. This is to discuss and provide direction on outreach priorities and strategies related to the city's MEU policies and community engagement. This item really will inform the work that's going to happen in terms of our outreach and events ad hoc. So with that being said, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Thank you, Chair. I have no speaker slips for item 6.
Okay, there are no speakers. And so, Commission, this really is our opportunity to kind of talk about our MEU. We know that we need to very quickly start getting the planning happening, to start getting the outreach. Last year's our colleagues at SPD were very helpful in us getting this information out. So I'll stop there, and Commissioner Corbs, I'll now go to you for your question that you were asking earlier in terms of our involvement and engagement.
So just confirming that if it's a public meeting, and it is, that even though we wouldn't go as part of the commission, that's part of the planning, we could go as an attendee, as a community member.
Yeah, so.
No.
Oh.
You have to be, and thank you for that clarification, because I kept saying public meeting, and I do mean a Brown Act body meeting, and you're limited to where you can have those spaces. It'd have to be agendized, and I think it has to be here unless,
no.
for certain circumstances, because you're discussing a matter that's within your purview. So it'd have to be a meeting like this.
So I wonder why last year we got an email saying, at the last minute, saying, if anybody from the commission wants to attend, we can. It just so happened I couldn't because I was not available.
I was not aware of that email, so I can't speak to that.
You remember?
Well, the last
Remember
two,
seeing that email? Yeah.
I figured she found out something that
Yeah.
the rest of us on the committee.
So if I'm not on the ad hoc committee, I can't go as a community member to a meeting that is at a community center.
This, to a meeting that's discussing subject matter under your purview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only council, commission members that should be at the MEU are those of us on that committee.
Yes, unless you want to,
Join the committee,
no.
which I'm already on a committee.
Unless you want to. It's not really about the committee. It's just the quorum hearing a matter.
Quorum, okay, so if
Right.
there's only 3 people on your committee,
you need 5 to make a quorum.
and there's, so then technically we could,
People
before the event, we can say, does anybody want to go?
Right.
Perfect.
As long as we make sure that there's not.
Not more than that.
More than
Okay,
quorum.
well, that makes sense then.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. Okay.
Okay.
So not that I will throw that out there, but you have 3 on the committee, but I will attend the MEU as chair, so really you would have 1 more kind of.
Y'all better let Karen come.
Oh,
I mean, I would have liked to have gone, it depends on what the date is. I might be out of town, I don't know.
no, Karen, you can't be out of town now. You signed up for this. So one of the questions I have, and maybe this is something that Commissioner Lewis or Captain Buchanan can answer. What is kind of our timeline? Because I know it's very short, that we need to start getting these on the books soon.
Did they fix the condensing time crunching the legislature? or
Yes, that did.
That has been fixed.
That did pass.
Their
So
little
the,
crunching timeline, well, that's.
yeah, so we don't have to meet it, but I think we have the last third or last week in July for the community meeting. Still there because we wanted to still have that time frame for feedback to be implemented into it before I went to council if we had to. The ordinance is in there. I can pull up the exact time frame, but I would say let's be prepared before the 3rd week of July to have it scheduled. And I think the biggest thing for that, if you guys could come up with a location, because that is the biggest logistical concern for city staff. Give me a sec, I'll look up the exact date or what the ordinance says.
Okay, Commissioner Corpse.
So I know that for the past couple of years, it's been at the Oak Park. I know that that's a great location. I mean, it is. I don't think you have to pay for that, right? It's free. Is it free to go there? Yeah, so that's nice. I mean, obviously, we couldn't go someplace where you have to pay. We have no money, right? So that's great. I know that a lot of people that have attended have not been from that community. But I know we like to have it in that community, or we talked about Del Paso Heights, because this is where a lot of the equipment is being used, right? In these 2 areas, because we would like to get the community to come out and give their perspective on that. For what it's worth, I did speak to the president of the Land Park Community Association, and they said they would be happy to allow us to use their location at the zoo. They have their meetings at the zoo, for whatever reason, or at Fairy Tale Town or something like that, and that we could use their location if we wanted to. So I'm just offering that up.
Okay, are there other commissioners that want to speak on this item? All right, so if I'm capturing what I'm hearing correctly, I think the first work of the Outreach and Events Committee around the MEU is to let's secure a location and secure a date so that we can start that outreach and that work. I'm happy that, in my mind, for some odd reason, I was under the old timeline, but I'm happy that we kind of have a little bit of a breather. Yeah, it was crunching. Okay, are there any other members of the commission that want to speak on the proposed MEU planning? Other than we need to work on a location and get a solid date. Okay. All right, moving to item number 7, which is the Sacramento Community Police Review Commission follow-up log. This item is a receive and file, and this is if there's anything you want to add to the follow-up log that we have. If you remember at our last meeting, we kind of zeroed out the log so that we could begin to start fresh on it. Yes, sorry, Captain Buchanan.
It just has to be done before July 31st, so.
All right. So are there any items well, sorry, let me go backwards. Are there any members of the public?
Thank you, Chair. I have no speakers list for item 7 for the follow-up log.
Okay. All right, commissioners, are there any items that you would like to see added to the follow-up log? Okay. Moving to our next item, staff and commissioner comments, ideas, and questions. Do I have any commissioners who want to speak up at this time? Commissioner Corpse.
I have 2 things. Number 1, what is happening with OPSA? Are they coming to our meetings anymore? Or I know that the executive director, I'm not sure what the title was, she left. And so was the interim?
Jody is away. I don't have the details on that. So there's an acting, I don't know their overall structure right now, so I don't know them. You'd have to refer to their office.
Okay, because I just feel like they were part of our meetings and now they're kind of gone.
Yeah, I would reach out to, I could give you the point of contacts for either the assistant director, I guess, I think that's his title, but Brendan.
Okay, if I can reach out to you to get that?
Yeah, you can just reach out to me, and I'll give you some points of contact, or I can connect you via email with a couple points of contact over there.
Okay, because I know that for our training and onboarding, would like to include them if, Okay, perfect. I just didn't know what happened. The other thing that I have really quick is that I know Sacramento Police Department has their own community event days, or I'm not sure, community engagement days, but those have not been set on the calendar yet, right? We don't have dates yet for those?
The Citizen Academy Days you're talking about? I'm not sure on the answer. I don't know, but yeah, they haven't been scheduled yet.
Are we going to have any for this year?
I'm not sure. Sometimes we schedule them and we don't get attendance and we had cancel them. I would assume, but I don't know for sure on the answer. I could definitely find that out for you.
Okay, so I just wanted to bring attention to everybody on this commission that the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office does have a community academy. If anybody is interested, it's a 10-week academy, and it's every Tuesday night from May 5th to July 7th, and you learn things. You gain a better understanding the criminal justice system, crime scene investigations, internal affairs, community policing, dispatch, K-9, recruiting, blah, blah, blah. So if anybody is interested, I'm happy. I printed out some extra little pamphlets on this if they wanted to. I was thinking about doing that. I'm not sure yet based on my schedule, but I just saw that come online if anybody's interested. And it's free, but you do have to apply by April 20th. So if anybody's interested.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any other commissioners? All right, just a couple of items that I want to share. First of all, it really goes without saying, I think our entire community has been impacted by the incident at one of our local schools, I won't name, but it did spark for me just a question of, what opportunities are we looking at in terms of youth outreach and engagement? And at some point, I think it would be worthwhile a discussion for us to have about how are we meaningfully engaging our young people? It was a discussion that we had during one of our sub-ad hocs of how are we really, but it is something to really think about our youth, gun violence, and the impact that our young people are having. So I'll leave that there. The other thing is District 1, so that's the area that I represent or was appointed from, will be having their community conversations on this upcoming Thursday. Our Councilmember Kaplan does a great job of allowing all of her commissioners the opportunity to interface and interact directly with the members of the district. So I'll be there. It's going to be at the North and Thomas Community Center representing this body, and so looking forward to hearing from our community and other residents. Also, I had the opportunity over the last couple of weeks to spend some time with our colleagues from Sacramento County, our counterparts over there, so really a great opportunity. I'm excited about, I think, some things that we could do regionally with both of our community review bodies to continue to support our law enforcement partners here in the region. So thank you, Commissioner Cho, for that opportunity to sit down with you and the rest of a couple of the team there from the county. Finally, would like to just kind of offer, I think, from this seat, as well as from all of us, well wishes to our police chief, Kathy Lester, who you may have read, shared that she would be retiring after 32 years. So please, on behalf of this body, share with Chief Lester that we appreciate, we wish her well in this new journey, in this new chapter in her life. And so just wish her well on behalf of this group and thank her for her partnership and commitment with our body and the work that she has done over the course of these last 32 years for the city of Sacramento and the Sacramento Police Department. It is my hope that this commission would have some ability to help engage and help with the process as we move forward for a replacement and how we can lend our voice and add value to that very important work. So we're really excited to lend our voice to that. And please, I don't know who gets communicated that to, but just know that we stand ready to step in that space and help in any way that we can with that. You may have seen tonight we had Deputy Chief Bales, who was here, who I believe will be at some point in May stepping into that interim role. So again, very appreciative and looking forward to working together and continuing our work. And finally, for those who don't know, and again, youth have been on my mind, but Sac State has a list of summer youth academies that our youth can get involved in this summer. And one of those academies is Crime and Punishment, Theories of Crime, and it is in their Health and Human Sciences pathway. So again, a great opportunity for our young people to get involved, to be active this summer, and hopefully learn a few things. So once again, those are just a few items that I wanted to share out. Any other commissioners? All right, is there any other questions, concerns for the good of the order? Seeing none, we stand adjourned. Oh.